Welcome to World Cup 2026 Extra Time. My name is Steven Rabinowitz. This is the first day in about, let's say, 4 weeks that we don't have a World Cup game going on. But over the next 3 days, we will have four quarterfinals happening, where we will determine the final four of this year's World Cup teams that will be playing for podium spots next weekend. So let's talk about the first game tomorrow afternoon. France, Morocco. This is the ninth meeting between the two teams. France has won five matches, and they met in last year's World Cup in the semifinals. France won 2-0. Now, Morocco went home, got their first semifinals. Now they're back, the first team to back round of eights or better. We'll see what happens, though. This is a team now, Morocco, who is not surprising anybody. They're on a 34-match international unbeaten run. They won 3-0 against Canada, and they look pretty good doing it. I mean, the first half they were kind of a little messy, but Canada kind of just threw everything that they had at Morocco, and Morocco said, "Here, take this," and scored three goals in the second half. They pretty much looked dominant in a lot of the games in this tournament outside the Brazil game, which was a draw, and the Netherlands game, but they actually looked kind of on the offensive a lot more in that Netherlands game than expected. France, though, after the 14 goals and the 13 goals in the five matches previous, needed a 70th minute VAR penalty to beat Paraguay 1-0. Never looked comfortable in that game. They dominated possession. They dominated a lot of stuff, but I think the one thing that you could take away from that game is if you frustrate France, they may not be able to respond quickly. And if you can take the shot at them, you can get to them. You'll talk about talking about Mbappe. He's one behind in the Golden Boot race. You're going to see Aurelien Chouameni coming back after missing the Paraguay with the thigh injury. He should make his return because he will be huge in a defensive perspective, trying to take away everybody on that Morocco side, including Unahi, who scored twice against Canada in that second half. Morocco knows exactly what version they want to play against. They want to play against a France team that's going to take chances at them and one that Morocco is going to make them pay. I'm going to be interested to see with Chouameni coming back. That team is going to has a back four, a defensive structure with a back four where France can kind of take away the biggest threats in this tournament. They really haven't played a lot of the big teams out there threat-wise. Remember when they played Norway, they played them without most of their starters. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting to see. And then obviously, Michael Elise is there, tournament's most prolific creator in terms of assists and Belly's movement through the central attacking zone, making sure somebody else other than Mbappe can score, which you haven't seen on a lot of teams out there. And we'll see what happens. Siberia from Morocco is a huge concern. He got injured in the game against Canada in the 22nd minute, forced them to make a sub early. But if you lose him in any point, you need everybody and the 82nd Airborne to go up against Morocco, because if that doesn't happen and Unahi has to really take over most of the offensive scoring, I think France will win this game. Um, I have France winning this one 2-1. I still think that I predicted them to go to the final. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed at all in this situation, but I expect a really good game between these two teams. Friday at 3, a game we thought the U.S. could possibly have been in, but nope, it's Spain, Belgium. It's the first UEFA matchup. Six European teams made it to this stage of the tournament. Not a surprise, but this is the 23rd meeting between Spain and Belgium, and their third in the World Cup. It was 1-1 in 1986. Belgium won 5-4 on penalties in the quarters, and Spain won in the group stage in 1990, the next year. Spain has won the last match between the two overall, which was way back in 2016, so it's been 10 years. Uh, the big thing with Spain, um, they have just been insanely good. They have been insanely good. They have not let up a goal this entire tournament. Only scored 9 goals, which will be interesting to see how they kind of look in bigger games because they really didn't have a lot of answers and really played a lot close to the vest against Portugal. But Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, Austria, Portugal, nothing. Nothing at all. But the thing with Belgium is they drew 2 matches already. They drew 2 matches, gone to extra time in a third, and the only 2 games that they've really had big wins was the group finale against New Zealand, which got them the top spot out of Group G, and then obviously the 4-1 win against the United States. And the one thing that was interesting about that game is they didn't play De Bruyne at all. They would have brought him in the second half if they need to. They didn't play Lukaku until the second half, got that. But Belgium is not the golden generation team anymore. They looked, I wouldn't say horrible, but they didn't look at all in form, except really at the end of the third game against New Zealand, really when they needed to turn it on against Senegal, and obviously pretty much from moment one against the United States. And we'll see what happens. Now, Spain has significant representation from all of the big Spanish teams like Barcelona and Athletic Bilbao again, no Real Madrid. Rodri has been huge, but he hasn't really scored as much. Pedri, Mikel Moreno. Moreno had the game-winning goal against Portugal. Can Yamal get the big plays to kind of put him in position? And then Olazabal didn't have a great game offensively, but we'll see what happens. Nico Williams, hopefully we see him, but if not, Spain knows that defensively this might have to be the way that they get the job done. Thibaut Courtois didn't really need to do a lot against the United States, but when they did, he's been good. He's been really good for Belgium in this entire run, and he's still one of the best in the world. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna say this is an extra time game, which Spain wins 1-0. I think this game is close. I think Belgium, a switch has kind of turned on, I think, a little bit for Belgium, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game goes to kicks, but that's what I'm thinking here. All right, so that's Friday's game. Moving on to Saturday, Norway, England, Miami. And we'll see if the heat has any effect in this game. Obviously, you know what Norway's story has been. They did the perfect qualification with 37 goals and then just quietly had the win against Iraq, beat Senegal 3-2, got themselves at least a spot in the knockouts, put themselves in the best position that they possibly could. They didn't really want to turn on the gas against France. They might see them again in the final at this rate. And then obviously the Brazil game was the big one. Obviously, the missed penalty shot really was a key to kind of keeping that momentum with Norway and allowing them to get their goals in the 80th minute. And if Holland gets shots, he's going to score. He does it almost every single time, especially on national side. And he is in the form of his career in the international side. He has 7 goals in the World Cup. But it's not just when he has the 7 goals in the World Cup. It's the fact that he can do it on 8 touches in a game. It's the fact that he can do it in 12 touches in a game. He doesn't need the workload. He can make it look easy. That's the big thing. So if he touches the ball more, that's a big problem for England. A huge problem for England. But overall, the team that's better offensive, that's better with all of their team is England. You really saw it in the Croatian game. I don't know if you saw it as much in the DR Congo game, but Harry Kane kind of just said, "Go on my back. We're going to take you to the round of 16." And then the Mexico game was just bonkers throughout. And it's a game that we kind of said it with the United States with their win when they were down to 10 men and they needed to kind of take over against a Bosnian attack for over 30 minutes. England did the same thing, and they looked really good for almost 40 minutes. And that's going to be a very huge key. Can England keep that defensive pressure up? Can they not just not allow Erling Haaland to score? Can they make sure Martin Odegaard is pretty much swamped every single time he has the ball? Can they make sure that Nusa doesn't get himself a big shot on goal? Can they make sure Azagard doesn't get a big shot on goal? That's going to be the key, because if that's the case, I still think there's enough holes in Norway's defensive game that England has Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, who, as you can see, if you take your eyes off of him in any way, shape, or form, that's problems. Saka, Rashford, and Declan Rice. There are players on that team enough that I think England can overcome all of that. And I think overall, even though Norway's goalie had a very good game against Brazil, I think Jordan Pickford can be really huge. And then Haaland and Bellingham are best friends back to their times when they played in Dortmund. And so a lot of interesting storylines here. I have 3-2 England. I think this will be a very crazy game, but I truly think England will get done on top. And by the way, most of these teams I had going forward anyway. So these are three teams that I'm just not going to go against my prediction now because there's nothing. It's really changed it. England kind of looked much better in that Mexico game, despite the inconsistency and the lapses that they really can't have in other games. I think you can do it against a team like Norway, who it's very good this run that they've had to be here, but they still probably need to get a little more of a rev of the engine to get themselves into the final four of the World Cup. And then finally, the other game on Saturday, Switzerland, Argentina. It is a late 9 p.m. Saturday game. Argentina's never lost to Switzerland. They played in the '66 World Cup, where Argentina won 2-0. But they also played in the 2014 World Cup. Argentina was taking extra time in that game. What a shock. And won the game 1-0. Okay. Argentina's the world champions. What can you expect? They've had 10 goals in their 5 matches so far. And obviously, after the 3-0 win against Algeria, uh, earlier in the group stage. This is where Messi had his hat trick right in the beginning of the World Cup. Here comes a team that the Swiss. Let's just mention what Argentina's big issues has been the lapses that they've had to let up goals defensively. Saw it against Cape Verde several times. You saw it against Egypt several times, but Argentina's offense is designed to kill you at any time. And once they kind of just opened it up, Messi will always make the big play. Martinez and Alvarez and McAllister and Enzo Fernandez have drive and creativity. There's a reason why this team was still in the favorites position, in one of the favorites position going into this World Cup, because it's not just Messi. Messi was Superman in Qatar, and he's been a Superman here. 8 goals in this World Cup, including the one that tied it against Egypt. And I think overall, that's a huge thing to see. Yes, they haven't played the greatest of opponents yet. Their best one, ranked wise, was probably Austria at the group stage. But overall, you have to play who's in front of you. And if you have the best player on the field, that best player needs to do his magic. And Messi does his magic and does it really well. Switzerland is a team that has been very interesting, and they've been very solid over the last 15 to 20 years internationally. They're built on collective organization rather than individual brilliance. Obviously, you looked at the Qatar game and you're like, what happened? But they come back and they've won every game since. They kind of had the blitzkrieg at the end of the game against Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was a 4-1 game. Probably looked a little bit closer than that. You have the game against Canada. You have the game against Algeria. They were just so solid in those games. And then you have the game yesterday, as we taping this on the off day of Wednesday, where they just kind of played Colombia's game and were willing to play it all the way up into penalties. And then they were the better team in penalties. Can Grant Xhaka, though, get that goal to get the pressure on Argentina again. Argentina cannot win these close games again and again and again. Or maybe they can. I don't know. Lautaro Martinez, and I'm going to be very interested to see what happens if this team can kind of just continue on and on and on, especially with Johan Manzabi has 3 goals in this tournament and has a form that needs to always be looked at every single way. And Aknahi has been very good there on the defensive structure. The Switzerland team is loaded and ready to go. I'm going to pick the upset here. You know what? I have Switzerland moving on 1-0. I had Colombia knocking out Argentina here. You can only go so far for so long, and I think Argentina their World Cup run will end here. So, yeah, sure. I had 4 European teams making the Final Four. I had Colombia in this spot before, but let's see Switzerland play the game Colombia what I thought was going to play against Argentina. I think it might work. All right, we'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night after the France-Morocco game. We'll see if France can get back to their third consecutive World Cup semifinals. This is the World Cup 2026 Extra Time podcast. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all those good things. We'll talk to you tomorrow.